David Schwartz got everyone up in arms because what he said about XRP's future and its price potential. I've had a lot of requests to break this down, so we will briefly. But before we get into that, it was a wild day today. We saw a lot of volatility in the precious metals market, big sell off in gold, and an epic historical sell off in silver. Man, that was vicious. We're going to listen to Tom Lee, why he thinks this is actually bullish for crypto and other risk assets, why this vortex that was sucking up all the capital, well, it's starting to sell off as people take profits, and where are they going to go next with that? We'll break that down. A lot of news to get into. Let's start with this quote from David, because quite a few people were asking me about it. Someone asked him here, David, please say XRP supporters, please tell them that the price of XRP can't and won't go to $50 to $100. David said the following: I don't feel comfortable saying something like this. Well, I don't think it's likely. And that part got people irritated. Like, what do you mean it's not likely? He says, I didn't think it was likely XRP would ever hit 25 cents. And I started selling at 10 cents because it seemed insane. He also remembers when Bitcoin hit 100, that seemed like this impossible dream. This person's name is Ripple is good, but XRP is not so good, is what we'll say here. I would actually argue that XRP is better than Ripple stock. I think XRP performs better over, we saw it from 50 cents to well over $3. Ripple stock didn't do that good. And I think ultimately Ripple's stock is going to be tied to XRP's value. So from that standpoint, maybe Ripple is better because you get a discount on all the XRP they hold. But that is the growth engine there. There is no Ripple's good, but XRP is not. That's ridiculous. People are looking at Ripple's holdings of XRP, and that's what gives them confidence moreover than anything else. Swift and payments and all this other stuff, it pales in comparison to the value of Ripple's XRP. Now, we got on that little side note there. But here's the issue. David, like he said, he didn't know we were going to even hit a quarter. He thought that was ridiculous. He was selling at 10 cents. That seemed insane. Ripple themselves, the company, they sold 5 billion XRP to R3 on a contract at like a cent, right? And within a year, it hit $3.80. David doesn't know what the price of XRP is going to do. I darn sure don't. And neither does Ripple. Nobody knows for sure. But when we look at things last run, if we didn't have the lawsuit, if we weren't delisted, if we just keep pace with Ethereum and our current gap with them now, we probably hit $8-12, something like that. And we're going into the future with mass adoption, more people investing, a lot more capital coming with ETFs. Like, we know it's some magnitude higher, of course. Over the long horizon, you're going to show growth. What's possible is obviously not $1 or $2 or $3. It was possible is much higher. I have no problem with David, just telling us what he feels. The guy is as honest as it comes. And if he really felt that you could not hit $50, if you couldn't hit $10, he would tell you that. This guy is overly honest, is what I would say. Doesn't bother me. He's speaking his mind. It's hard to envision the future, but we've seen over the long horizon, blockchain continues to grow, and the prices in very short time will rip your face off and go to much higher prices, and they never return back to the lower ones. It's just a game of patience at this point in time. But I have no problem with what David said. I'm not concerned. It means literally nothing to me. David is a system thinker. He knows how to build the future, systems that the future will require. He's not concerned with the token and how much it'll go up and down. That's not his game. He builds the future. The future will price the value of that. Now, this is a great discussion here by the All In podcast, and they're talking about the de-dollarization, and that if you don't have assets, if you are fully reliant on just income, you're going to go broke here, talking about, the declining value of the dollar. And this is interesting chart. We see that the price or the amount of gold that central banks is holding, it has eclipsed U.S. Treasuries. They're kind of, really stocking up on gold in a big way, less on U.S. Treasuries. Now they hold more gold than they do U.S. Treasuries. And if you value the stock market, not in dollars, and I think this is a little bit of a flawed metric, but if you value the stock market in gold ounces instead of dollars, the value is going down. Now, again, it's been an epic run for gold, whatever, but it just shows you have to hold assets in this environment. We understand fiat currencies, they're losing value. You're losing your purchasing power here. That ain't the game. You want to hold cryptocurrencies, stocks, precious metals, I guess, not my game, real estate, things of this nature, real assets to keep up with this, because otherwise they're just going to run right by you. Now, Tom Lee saying gold and silver, it created this vortex for risk assets where everyone was trading into these two trades, and it was running epically. And we saw a big sell-off here today. And the question is, does this blow off top? As people took profits from those trades, huge profits, generational profits from gold and silver, is this going to create an opportunity for crypto to catch a bid? As you look out over the horizon, I think a lot of capital is going to flow into crypto, AI, and tech in general, and we should get going here. Again, gold and silver and precious metals, that was the story here. We'll see. Maybe it recovers and it keeps going up, but I don't think so. I think you saw the top there, and people are going to look somewhere else to run those profits. We will see. Now, the Fed chair pick. This was interesting by Matt Hogan. A lot of people were worried because he's a Fed hawk. Remember what I told you? What's going to happen here? You're going to see when you get the new Fed chairman, they're going to raise target inflation rate. It's been 2%. It's arbitrary. It could be 1%, it could be 3%. You ain't going back to 2%. That ain't happening. No reason to even have that as a target. They might hit 2.5, 2.8. They're going to set it somewhere. So even if he's a hawk on inflation, he's going to get loosey-goosey with markets, you best believe. And I don't think that was as much of what we saw today in markets. People worried about the Fed. He's respected. He's known. It's not some crony. I think that actually is going to bring a lot of relief to markets. I think it was more just unwinding that gold and silver trade is what we saw today. But Matt Hogan said, you know what? It's not good enough for the Fed chair to want to cut rates. Fed chair is not a king, right? You got to get everyone else on board. And Kevin Warsh, the new Fed chair nominee, he has to get confirmed first, but the nominee, he can actually, via his reputation, talk people into lowering rates, expanding the balance sheet. He can get the job done you're looking to do more effectively than maybe someone else that would just power through and say, yes, we got to bring rates down to zero and, really extreme type of things. He will be more effective getting where we want to go. XRP's evolving role, bridge asset versus RLUSD settlement. Ripple's Treasury is positioning RLUSD rather than XRP as a primary settlement instrument. This also has a lot of people worried. What I tell you is this. First of all, XRP, it really wasn't working because you had to buy it on the exchange the way they were doing it before, and you had to sell it on a second exchange. That's a lot of fees, and we saw it just from MoneyGram. That's a publicly traded company, so we could see their numbers. Quarterly, they were losing millions of dollars a quarter just doing, very fine amount of quarters with one company. Like, you could see that just wasn't working. We got to do something else. I've been screaming at the rooftop for a while about this. But more importantly, we heard that interview with Kathy Woods the other day that it's not so simple. You think you could just send the stable coin over and, you get $1 worth of pesos and $1 worth of yen, and don't work like that. They see those payments coming, and then next thing you know, well, now the markets move and you get slippage and there's problems. And so that's where XRP really is a bridge asset will still come into play, because as you're trying to send that payment over, you can hop to XRP and you have more liquidity there. You can go XRP to gold to peso, XRP to USDC to peso. Like, XRP is still going to be in the middle of all this stuff. It's really easy when you're sending a single dollar, a $50 or a $100 payment. And you're like, wow, that's really great. Try to send billions of dollars worth of payments and you're going to run into trouble here. Again, those trading pairs will move on you, and you need that bridge asset. So as you're streaming payments, it's easy with that pathfinding algorithms to just, on a drop of a dime, if that's not an advantageous trade for you and you're going to lose money, it'll hop to XRP and go somewhere else. RLUSD is our Trojan horse. It gives us our direct pipeline into the Federal Reserve balance sheet when they become a bank, and it gives us ultimate liquidity on chain, and this is just going to drive the value of XRP and the volume that is running through the asset on chain. We keep going over this, but we see analysts. They're setting their sights $3 to $8 here in 2026, driven by three massive institutional pillars: ETF demand, legislation clarity, and real-world utility. Utility is the big one, and I can't wait to see RWAs really start to rock and roll on this chain. It's the original RWA chain, and I think it's going to really pick up a lot of adoption there, specifically because banks and institutions, they want this capability, and XRP is poised to deliver just that. We have a lot of new capability, more coming, and that's going to be a game changer. We need privacy, of course, and some other stuff, but we're getting there, and we're getting ready for the prime time. We just got regulatory approval for RLUSD. It's already at $1.4 billion in market cap. It's a powerhouse in just over a year, and it's quickly becoming the institutional gold standard for stable coins. Of course, institutional grade trust, Multi-chain, which is so important. It settles onto Ethereum, the granddaddy of all altcoins, XRP Ledger, and it's probably going to go on other chains as well. Multi-chain is important for the future, of course. We have a global footprint. We're seeing a massive expansion into Africa, an area that everyone wants to get access to. And really, we're looking at a path to $10 billion for RLUSD. It is the default settlement for really Ripple Treasury, which is so important. We're going to have a bunch of Fortune 500 companies moving a percentage of their 12.5 trillion in annual payment flows running over these rails. It's going to make a difference. It's going to bring liquidity to the XRP ledger, and that's going to drive XRP value over time. Record red ink for XRP ETFs. I sit here day in and day out and I talk about, oh, we have inflows when everyone has outflows. Well, you got to report the good news with the bad news. We had record outflows the other day, 92 million in net redemptions, the single largest day outflow since launch. But most of it is the grayscale effect. Almost all outflows came from Grayscale's GXRP. What's going on here? Why is this happening? We've seen this with Bitcoin. We've seen it with Ethereum. I don't know what Grayscale is doing. Their fees are so high, so ridiculous. People are like, I'm going to trade out of this and get into something better. In this case, Bitwise picked up a lot of those inflows. This is, I don't know why they don't charge a lower fee, and they would own this whole space. To the OGs, they've been around, they have the name recognition, but people ain't going to put up with the fees they're charging. A lot of people cashing out, and they're starting to put it back in Bitwise, and they will, in an advantageous time, roll it back into other ones. It's not like people are fleeing XRP, they're fleeing Grayscale specifically, and that's key to note. Lastly, Ripple officially launched Ripple Treasury, powerhouse that results from their $1 billion acquisition in G Treasury. It's the first platform to bridge 40-year-old TradFi with institutional blockchain tech. Unified control, see your cash, RLUSD, XRP, all in one place. All your digital assets, your stable coins, your actual cash. This is a system of the future. 24/7 yield, 3-second settlement, the bridge between legacy finance and digital future. It's not a concept anymore. This is integration. This is what the future looks like. Make sure you go over to the Zao DAO, take part in the future of this blockchain, $10 for lifetime membership. And you use your Salmon wallet or your Bifrost wallet. You pay your $10 in XRP. You get your NFT. It's a functional NFT. That's what lets you into the D app. We're getting close to that 1,000 member level, and that's when everything really starts to rock and roll. Link down below, and in the pinned comment, make sure you sign up and really take part in the future of this blockchain. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.